Hello and welcome to episode 103 of the Wisdom from the Akasha podcast. My name is Susie, I am your host, and I'm an Akashic Records teacher and practitioner. I'm just about to get started with my next cohort of mentorship clients, and I absolutely love to be able to go really deep with people. And in mentorship, you work with me over a 6-month period, and we get together every 2 weeks, so it is quite intense. Now, I only do 2 intakes of mentees a year, and the next intake is going to be in August 2026. Now, I know August 2026 sounds like a very long way away, especially when we're in the depths of winter. But what I will do is I'll put in the show notes a link to the mentorship plans that I offer. And on there, you'll also find the application. Now, I am already receiving applicants for the August intake, and I only take in 10 clients each intake. So if you do want to be considered for that, please do get that form filled in, and then we arrange a free alignment call and we just sit down and chat to see whether or not the mentorship is a good fit for you, and also if we're a good energetic fit for each other. That's very important when you're going to do such deep work with someone. In view of the fact that I'm about to start with my new mentorship clients, I wanted to give you all 10 tips going into 2026 if you are a spiritual or an intuitive business owner, because I know there is lots of advice out there, and I know I have a lot of Akashic Records practitioners and spiritual business owners who listen to this podcast. So I wanted to give you some food for thought and some tips going into 2026. Now, if you are not feeling the get up and go energy that you're expecting, please know that that's completely normal. We are still in energetic winter at this moment in time, and that get up and go kind of new start energy doesn't really start coming in until the springtime. So usually you start to feel a bit more energized, a bit more, okay, what am I going to put out into the world this year by the end of February, start of March. So if you're not feeling that yet, please don't beat yourself up. Energetically, we are still in winter. But I hope that these tips are going to give you some food for thought, some things to reflect upon. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, but I hope that you find these helpful. Tip number 1 is around everyone's favorite stroke least favorite conversation is around social media. Okay. And social media is an amazing way to get your name out there, to start finding your community, finding your clients. There is absolutely no doubt about that. It is an amazing tool for business owners. However, we have to understand that there is somewhat of a social media exhaustion going on within people. People are starting to move away from social media. They're starting to spend less time on social media. It's becoming overrun with videos generated by AI, by content generated by AI, and we can feel that. So when content is created by AI, we can feel that it's not the person's genuine voice, genuine energy behind that post. And it's leading to people not perhaps spending as much time as they used to on social media. That doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form that it's a useless tool in your business. It's absolutely not. It's a great tool to use. But what I wanted to offer in this first tip is just a reminder that business did exist before social media existed. People had successful businesses before social media was even available for them to market their businesses. And it's a reminder that you can still use some of the offline tools, or perhaps online but not social media tools, to grow and enhance your business. So what do I mean by that? Things like posters. If you're hosting an event within your community, where are the places that your ideal client hangs out? Is there a metaphysical shop? Is there a gym that your ideal client might go to? Is there a coffee shop where you know lots of people hang out that you would love to speak to? Okay? Posters are a very cost-effective way of getting your information out there. I know it can be a bit of a pain having to design them, but I'm sure there's lots of great apps out there at the moment that will essentially do that for you. Another tool that is still online, but not social media, would be podcasts. Okay, now I'm a little bit biased on this one because I absolutely love making the podcast. And from the perspective of being a projector, energetically, the podcast is one of the best ways for me to work on getting information out to you that's very low energy from my part. But never underestimate the power of podcasting. Podcasting is an amazing tool. It's not that complicated or that difficult to get started with. I know sometimes you can think, oh, I'm going to have to hire a studio and I'm going to have to do all of this stuff. I literally started with a microphone and a laptop. And it's just about using the right software. All of the software that can be used is very user-friendly, very beginner-friendly, definitely if I can use it. And it's a beautiful way to be able to share with your audience and again, to connect to that ideal client. Similarly, Substack seems to be doing very well. Again, when it's actual human generated content versus the AI content that's over there, I think people are finding a very good community over on Substack when their preferred method of expression is writing. So if that's you, you might want to look into that. Networking events or going to different events for different teachers and practitioners in your area, finding people who maybe you'll be able to collaborate with. Maybe you'll be able to host an event where you're the sound bath practitioner and they're going to do some restorative yoga. Looking out into the community and really connecting with people who are working with similar people in a way that is going to help you to be able to collaborate with them. Similarly, in-person events, just going along to different things, especially if you go along to things where you know that your ideal client is going to hang out too. And then lastly, for this particular section, community collaborations. Okay, I think sometimes people can feel a little bit bad about reaching out to people and saying, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast, or maybe we could do a live on Instagram together, or maybe even an in-person event like we've just discussed. And I think sometimes people can feel that that's too pushy, but actually most of the time people are really happy to collaborate. Most of the time people love the idea of getting together with someone and sharing a bit of the workload and helping. So do have a look around in your community and see who is out there that maybe you could reach out to do some form of collaboration on. The second tip is actually around social media again, but it's to do with negative comments. I see a lot of people stopping themselves, putting themselves out there because they're so terrified of receiving what they would deem negative comments or criticisms online. Please remember that most of the time where there are negative or critical comments on your social media posts, it's bots. Okay, it's not even a real human. And if it is a real human, think of the energy that real human has to be in to want to sit there and type out something horrible that's going to upset somebody else. Please don't let any form of criticism, negative comments, put you off from sharing your work with the world. You're only supposed to be speaking to a certain person. That's your ideal client. And it's very important that you get very clear on who that ideal client is. That's point 3, that you know who you're speaking to, you know the transformation you offer and how you can help them get there. If somebody in the comments, and they are a real human and not a bot, happens to not like what you're saying, they're probably not the person you're supposed to be speaking to anyway. Okay, social media is very noisy and it takes getting really clear on that ideal client avatar that you'll hear people talk about, so that when you're out there in that marketplace talking about what it is that you're doing, you're speaking to a very specific person. Okay, I assume if you're listening to this episode that your focus is growing your spiritual or intuitive business, not on becoming an influencer. So your intention behind that is speaking to a specific person, not trying to be the loudest or the most viral in the world. And if that's the case, then it's very important that you do have a clear understanding of who you're speaking to and what you're speaking to them about. Tip number 4 is around AI. And just a reminder that you're never, ever, ever going to be able to keep up with the quantity of social media content that AI can produce. It's humanly impossible. Okay? So I know it can be very tempting because AI can generate quantity at such rapid paces that you're going to want to use it. If you're trying to keep up on pace of what other people are doing out in social media, you can sometimes get a little bit overwhelmed. Okay, now remember, and I'm sure I said this in the last podcast episode that I did as tips, big social media creators have entire teams of people working on their social media. It's not just one person sitting there doing it all. Now you have that added influence of when it is one person sitting there, sometimes it's just easier to put some stuff into one of these AI tools and get it to generate your content for you. I get that. I get that it can be tempting from a quantity perspective, but please remember that people are looking for quality. They're looking for your authentic voice. You want that ideal client of yours. You want their magnetic center to hear what you have to say and think, I want to work with that person. That's not going to happen if your content is just AI generated stuff, if it's just quantity over quality. So you're never going to keep up with it, so don't even try. Focus on the quality of the stuff that you're putting out and speaking to that ideal client. Tip number 5 is that a reminder that the first time you do anything new, it's going to be hard, it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to take you a really long time. So when I first started this podcast, I think it took me about 3 hours to record the podcast episode and edit it and schedule it. Okay, now it does not take that long now, thankfully, but it's completely normal to have difficulty when you first get started with something new. This doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do it, and it doesn't mean that it's always going to be the case. It's just those initial teething problems. So please do stick with it, even if it is hard. So maybe it's your first time posting on social media and you don't know how to create a post or how to actually post it. And you think, wow, it's taken me an hour to do this. I can't do that every time I want to post on social media. I promise you it gets easier. Whatever the tool is, there are videos out there that can help you. There are people out there that can help you. So don't let the fact that something is hard and uncomfortable, again, put you off sharing your gifts and your voice with the world. Number 6 is please do keep an eye on yourself and notice when you're starting to step into a little bit of savior complex. So I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on savior complex, but if you find yourself feeling this overwhelming burden and responsibility that you're here to save the world or to help everybody who happens to come into your DMs or your email, please remember that this is not the case. Everybody here is doing their bit. Everybody who has a spiritual and intuitive business is doing their bit to help the people that feel aligned to work with them. And that alignment is based on magnetic center. Okay, so sometimes I can see people getting very overwhelmed, thinking that they have to change their offerings, that they're being asked to do things that maybe aren't in alignment with the work that they want to do. And please do stay true to what it is you're feeling called to serve and how you're feeling called to serve to the people you're feeling called to serve, because that's soul alignment. Anytime you're going off track and you're feeling overwhelmed and you're thinking you have to offer things that maybe aren't your area of expertise or that don't bring you joy and you not actually want to do them, you're going to find it really hard to keep energized and stay serving people when it's out of soul alignment. Number 7 is understanding energetics of yourself and your business. You have energetics, your business has energetics, you have an Akashic record, and your business has an Akashic record. This is super important. Now, strategies are important. Understanding things like marketing are important, absolutely. But you have to understand yourself from an energetic perspective and your business from an energetic perspective. Because if you don't understand yourself and monitor yourself and your business energetically, you're not going to see when you slip out of alignment and when things start to feel like they're being forced and that they're out of alignment. You're not going to see that if you don't know what your energetics are. So definitely make a point of taking some time each day, each week, checking in with yourself, checking in with your energetics, and checking in with your business energetics as well. Number 8 goes hand in hand with that, and this is scheduling time off and downtime regularly. I know, especially when you're first starting in your business, it can be tempting to work all of the hours, you're full of enthusiasm, full of excitement, and you want to help everybody. So you open up your calendar and you're just constantly pouring into your business. Now, that's just not sustainable, and it's not going to do you any good, and it's not going to do your business any good. I know it can be hard, and people who I work with one-on-one tell me this all the time. As soon as they start their own business, it tends to be the only thing that they think about. And even when they're trying to have downtime, they're thinking about the business in the background. And this is why it's very important to make sure that you're scheduling in that downtime. When you have a soul-aligned business, the point of the soul-aligned business is to support your lifestyle, not to take over your lifestyle. So do make sure that you're putting in regular breaks, whether that's a weekend off here or a couple of weeks off there. Whatever works for you, however much time you need to rest and recuperate. And again, that period of downtime is going to offer you the ability to really check in to see, is this still in alignment? Is there something new perhaps that wants to be birthed through? Or is there something that no longer is in alignment that needs to be let go of? Number 9 is be okay with the fact that there are going to be seasons in your business. Sometimes it's going to be feast, sometimes it's going to be famine. And that is just how business is. When you've been in business for quite some time, you can see how the feast and famine cycle works in your business. And it's never as extreme as feast or famine. That's just the terminology I'm using. But just remember that all businesses have seasons. Okay, it's not supposed to be that you're going to hit a certain level of income and then it's going to be that every month thereafter. Okay, it's normal to go through this cycle. What you have to be very mindful of when you're going through your business cycles and you're maybe at the start of your business journey and you're understanding what your cycles are, that you do that in a way that is regulated. And what I mean by that is you're not going to let your nervous system get completely overwhelmed when it's feast or completely terrified when it's famine. Running your own business is a very intense process, and it's going to bring up any areas of wounding, energetic stagnation, abandonment issues, dysregulated nervous system. It's going to bring up the whole works, okay? Which is why it can be helpful to work with someone through any business growth, any business challenges that you have. But do understand that cycles are normal, seasons are normal in business, and learn how to best navigate those and how to look at them objectively. So is this happening because something is no longer in alignment? Maybe I've become inconsistent with my marketing efforts. Maybe there is something that's not working on the back end that I need to fix. Maybe it's the customer communication that needs to be sorted out, whatever it is, rather than it becoming this big emotionally overwhelming thing about your worth. Because what will happen a lot of the time is people will start to experience these things and they automatically start blaming themselves. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I should never have done this in the first place. And they want to throw in the towel. It's normal for businesses to have cycles. Try to zoom out and see what that cycle is teaching you. And then my last tip for this episode is have a life outside of your business. Again, I know when you first get started, you don't even really want to have a life outside of your business because business is exciting and it's fun and you're getting to do all of these new things and meet all of these new people. But it's very important to have a life outside of your business, because otherwise what happens is people start to attach their worth to the success of their business. Okay? You should treat your business like a separate entity. Yes, it's connected to you, and yes, your energetics matter in respect of your business, but it isn't you. And a way to make sure that you're not over-identifying with your business and not putting judgments of your worth based on the performance of your business is by having a life outside of it. So having hobbies, having time with friends, having time away from anything to do with your business. Your value as a human being is intrinsic. It is not tied to how much income you make, how many followers you have, how many likes you have, or even how many clients you help. If you feel called to serve, that's beautiful. If serving others is part of your spiritual development, that's beautiful. But your value is intrinsic. You are a soul having this human experience, playing this game of being a human. So also try to enjoy it, even when you're maybe starting or you're expanding into the next season of your business. So I hope you found these tips helpful. I know I'll be seeing lots of you in 2026 at the various classes and workshops I've got going on, and I will see you all next week for the next episode.